Hi, all you wonderful women. I just wanted to bring to you a video today of the last 10 old beliefs. So I had 20. I already had done the first 10. And if we want to recap, they were the fear of abandonment, which was number 1. 2, self-reliance. 3, perfectionism. 4, difficulty in trusting. 5, self-doubt. 6, seeking validation. 7, emotional guardedness. 8, difficulty in vulnerability. 9, avoidance of intimacy. And 10 was people-pleasing. So these are old belief patterns which may have come from a person who has survived abandonment or childhood abandonment in the early years of their life. And you might find yourself having these old beliefs or these belief patterns. You mightn't even know that they are a belief pattern or that they are an old belief. So the next 10 that I wanted to bring to you were going in only a little bit of detail, and then I'm going to work with another time that I'll come to you in what that might be by flipping those old beliefs. And this is the work that I do with people in my programs. So number 11 is overachieving. Are you a person who is constantly and always overachieving, not just at one thing here and there, but you have to overachieve? You've got to this overemphasis on achievement, that it's a way to prove, your worth and compensate for any feelings of inadequacy. You are that constant overachiever. And, sometimes we've got to be imperfect in that, and we just need to achieve what we can rather than burn ourselves out overachieving it. So number 12 is that negative self-talk. This can be an old belief pattern that we get stuck in, that internal dialogue that is filled with self-criticism and harsh judgments, stemming from these feelings of not being enough or not being good enough. What is that self-talk? You should lose those couple of pounds, you look terrible. What are you doing when you say that? You shouldn't have said that. You don't deserve that. You're not deserving. Number 13 was control issues. So you need to have the control over situations, of situations at any time, to be in control. And, in the controlling those situations, you're in control of the outcomes. And that is a way of knowing and to protect yourself from being hurt or abandoned, because it sucks, right? So the need to control everything in your life. It's like micromanaging. I've done it. I know what it feels like. I'm definitely a recovering control issue person. So 14, difficulty in letting go. So holding on to past hurts or relationships longer than necessarily needed. So that difficulty in letting a situation go, something that didn't work out, something that wasn't a success for you, and you may have failed at it, but it's not failing, it's just learning. And these difficulties in letting go for longer than others would. You want to keep it there just for a little bit longer, because if you're fearing that abandonment, if you move on from that. So by keeping it there, you're not quite abandoned, but it's just letting it go. There's so much freedom in that. So difficulty in the letting go. So 15, difficulty in receiving love. So you could be feeling unworthy of love and affection itself, which leads to difficulty in receiving love from others. So because you don't do well with love and affection, and you don't receive that well, you can brush it off, and then you have these feelings of unworthy, so you brush it off. So this can lead, to those difficulties. So when someone says that they love you or they're wanting to be in your life and love you, and you are, constantly not wanting to receive that, this is the difficulties in receiving love. Number 16 is hypervigilance. Wow, big word, hypervigilance. So, it's constantly being on guard for signs of a potential abandonment. So it's hyper, which means you're vigilant, but you're hypervigilant because you've got the armor on. You're on guard. You've packed on a fair amount of armor, not just a small amount. Hypervigilant, you're ready for a battle. So even in your stable relationships, you're still hypervigilant. You are constantly on guard. How do I protect myself from any little thing that goes on? Having that control, putting a control guard on. Guards, our armor that we put on in our life. Sometimes we're putting on layers and layers of armor, and there's a lot of armor layers to get off. But even when we're in our relationships and our stable ones that support us, we can still have this hypervigilance and these guards. 17 is boundary issues. So difficulty in setting and maintaining healthy boundaries, which can lead to isolation or feeling overwhelmed. There's too much going on. There's too many people. I've put myself out there too much, or said, isolation being so that you have just decided to say no to everything. And when there's some of the things that you really wanted to do and were passionate and decided not to because of, these unworthiness, or, finding out where these healthy boundaries are. So we find ourselves in positions we don't want to be in because we haven't been able to set and maintain these healthy boundaries. So 18 is self-isolation. So tendency to withdraw from others to avoid the risk of being hurt or being abandoned again. So you like doing a lot of self-isolation, you like being by the self, so you self-isolate purposely, and you withdraw either within crowds. You just want to avoid people getting close, pretty much. So they don't need to get to know you, or you don't want them to get to know you, because they'll probably leave. But hey, how nice would it be to know people? So 19 is escapism, engaging in activities or behaviours to distract from feelings of loneliness or unworthiness. So an activity of engaging in escapism might be moving constantly. That could be the gypsy lifestyle, but it could be, I've had enough of this place, I'm moving on, because people could be getting too close to you, you could be getting known, so you do escapism. You get into a situation where you just want to constantly run rather than staying in it, rather than staying in there and being in that moment. So look at the, behaviours and activities that you're engaging yourself into. And if you stayed, you may feel loneliness and you may feel unworthy, but you've got to be within these feelings. And number 20 was striving for independence. So it's a bit like the control. So while independence, of course, is valuable, in excess, so when it's excessive and a need for it, it weighs out to avoid relying on others emotionally. So it's above all else, above what everyone else, regardless of what anyone else feels or says. It's independent. So your independence is above all else, and no one else is allowed to support you. no one else is allowed to share with you your life. So striving for that independence at what cost? So it's the excessive need for it. And this can be a way to avoid relying on other people. So that's the 20. And with these past experiences that we may have had with abandonment, recognizing any of these belief patterns is part of acknowledging and part of being able to process and potentially challenge these beliefs, so that you can seek healing and growth. And if you're looking for that opportunity, always reach out. I'm here at the end of a phone or at the end of a message, ready to connect with you. Love and light. Ignite your purpose.